The summer of 1863 marked a pivotal moment in the American Civil War, with the Eastern Theater witnessing a dramatic turn of events. After a string of Confederate victories near Fredericksburg, Virginia, General Robert E. Lee embarked on a bold and audacious plan. Emboldened by his crushing triumph at Chancellorsville, Lee set his sights on the north, leading his army through the Shenandoah Valley, Maryland, and into Pennsylvania. As Lee's forces pushed northward, Union General George Meade gave chase, setting the stage for an epic confrontation at Gettysburg, a small rural town in south-central Pennsylvania. On July 1st, 1863, the opening act of this three-day drama unfolded northwest of the town. The battle began with a chance encounter between Union cavalry under John Buford and Confederate infantry led by Henry Heth. Heth's division, part of A.P. Hill's corps, marched down the Chambersburg Pike, expecting to easily brush aside what they believed to be mere cavalry scouts on McPherson's Ridge. However, Buford's men put up a fierce resistance, buying crucial time for Union reinforcements to arrive. As the conflict intensified, Union General John Reynolds rushed to the scene with his corps, only to fall in battle shortly after his arrival. Command then passed to General Abner Doubleday, who rallied the Union forces to hold their ground on McPherson's Ridge. The afternoon saw the battle's focus shift to Oak Hill, a strategic position that would play a significant role in shaping the day's outcome. This initial clash set the stage for 2 more days of intense fighting, culminating in one of the most decisive battles of the American Civil War 23. The Battle of Gettysburg would prove to be a turning point, halting Lee's northern invasion and dealing a severe blow to Confederate ambitions. With over 50,000 casualties, it stands as the bloodiest battle in American history, a testament to the ferocity and significance of this monumental clash. Ewell's corps is advancing from the north, with Rhodes' division set to take control of Oak Hill. Howard is expected to arrive with his Union corps, while Schurz's division is positioned to strengthen the Union's right flank. Nevertheless, these efforts will prove insufficient. Intense fighting will ensue, and Early's division will also join the fray from the north, overwhelming the Union forces. In the afternoon, Ewell's corps will launch a significant offensive, leading to the collapse of the Union right flank, the fall of Seminary Ridge, and a retreat of Union soldiers through Gettysburg, heading southward. To summarize the first day, the Confederates attacked from the north and northwest, while the initial elements of the Union Army managed to withstand these assaults for several hours before being driven back through Gettysburg to positions south and southeast of the town. Moving forward, the battle will primarily focus on the southern and southeastern areas surrounding Gettysburg. By the evening of the first day, key locations for the ongoing battle, including Culp's Hill, Cemetery Hill, the Lutheran Seminary, and Seminary Ridge to the south of the seminary, have been occupied and fortified. It is crucial to distinguish between Cemetery Hill and Seminary Ridge, as their names may cause confusion. The Union forces will occupy Cemetery Hill and Cemetery Ridge, while the Confederates will hold Seminary Ridge. Throughout the night and into the early morning, the majority of the armies will have arrived. The Union will maintain control over Culp's Hill, Cemetery Hill, and Cemetery Ridge, while the Confederates will occupy Gettysburg, Seminary Ridge, and Banner's Hill. Notably, Little Round Top and Big Round Top to the far south remain unoccupied. Robert E. Lee has devised a strategy aimed at replicating his success at Chancellorsville. He strategically divides his forces by dispatching Longstreet's corps to the south, where Longstreet will navigate through ridges and woods to remain undetected, ultimately positioning himself at the far southern end of the Union Army's line. Lee's strategy involves directing Longstreet's corps along the Emmitsburg Road to launch a surprise attack on Cemetery Hill from the rear. Once Longstreet engages the enemy, Ewell is set to assault Culp's Hill and Cemetery Hill from the northern side. However, for reasons unknown, Sickles relocates his Union Corps from Cemetery Ridge to the Peach Orchard and the Wheat Field, leaving the Confederate Army to approach the southern flank of the Union forces without understanding his decision. The Confederates are surprised to find both Little Round Top and Big Round Top unoccupied, a situation that will not escape the attention of Longstreet's divisional commander, Hood, who decides to seize the opportunity. To illustrate, the Emmitsburg Road is marked in white, while Cemetery Ridge is shown in blue, culminating at Little Round Top and Big Round Top. On the afternoon of July 2nd, Hood's division of Longstreet's Corps launches an assault targeting Big Round Top, Devil's Den, and the Wheat Field. As Hood's troops reach the summit of Big Round Top, they observe Little Round Top as largely unguarded, save for a few individuals waving flags. In a swift maneuver, Hood's division descends from Big Round Top and ascends Little Round Top, only to come under fire. The flag-waving individual on Little Round Top turns out to be the engineer, Gouverneur Warren, who was signaling the urgent need for reinforcements. Consequently, a frantic effort ensues to position regiments atop Little Round Top before the Confederates can take control. With mere minutes to spare, the Union Army successfully deploys several regiments to Little Round Top, managing to repel the Confederate forces on their extreme left flank. This is the position of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain's 20th Maine, located at the far left flank of the Union Army. They successfully defend against the Confederate forces attempting to seize Little Round Top. While the battle for Little Round Top intensifies, to the west lies Devil's Den, where fierce hand-to-hand combat unfolds among the boulders. The Confederates manage to dislodge the Union troops from this area. As Hood engages at Little Round Top and Devil's Den, McLaws advances to assault the wheat field and the peach orchard, leading to some of the most intense back-and-forth fighting of the day. The wheat field changes hands multiple times, resulting in significant losses for entire regiments and brigades. To the north of the peach orchard, Humphreys' division is faltering under pressure, as a brigade of Confederates led by Wilcox launches an attack aimed directly at Cemetery Ridge. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Hancock has already committed a large portion of his corps to support Sickles at the peach orchard and the wheat field. However, with the Confederates advancing towards Cemetery Ridge and no immediate reinforcements available, he relies solely on the 1st Minnesota Regiment to hold the line. He needs 5 minutes to bring in additional troops before the Confederates can establish a foothold in the center of the Union Army. The 1st Minnesota, acting as a sacrificial force, charges against the Confederate brigade, ultimately sacrificing themselves to buy that crucial time. Despite their heavy losses, the 1st Minnesota successfully provides Hancock with the 5 minutes he required to reinforce Cemetery Ridge. It is important to note that just north of Wilcox, another Confederate brigade is also in motion. It effectively dissipates. Nevertheless, the 1st Minnesota fulfills Hancock's request by providing him with 5 minutes to bring reinforcements to Cemetery Ridge. It is important to mention that just north of Wilcox, one Confederate brigade, known as Wright's Brigade, managed to reach the top of Cemetery Ridge. However, lacking support, they were compelled to retreat. Ultimately, Sickles' corps was effectively decimated during the battle. Hancock, positioned on Cemetery Ridge, remained composed and successfully reinforced Sickles, maintaining control of the high ground. He secured both Little Round Top and Cemetery Ridge. While the Confederates managed to capture the Devil's Den, the wheat field, and the peach orchard, they failed to advance along the Emmitsburg Road to assault Cemetery Hill. As Longstreet launched an attack on the Union's left flank, Ewell prepared to engage the Union Army on its right flank. The conflict on the second day would persist on the Union right flank into the evening, focusing on the critical areas of Culp's Hill and Cemetery Hill. Ewell had 2 divisions poised for this assault on the Union right, with Johnson's division tasked to attack Culp's Hill and Early assigned to assault Cemetery Hill. Hayes's brigade would ascend Cemetery Hill, prompting Hancock to recognize a significant issue. Just as he had previously addressed vulnerabilities on the southern flank of the Union Army earlier that day, he identified this new threat. He promptly dispatched Carroll's brigade to fill the gap and drive Hayes back. The far right flank of the Union Army at Culp's Hill will reflect some of the actions occurring on the far left flank at Little Round Top. Just as Joshua Chamberlain successfully repelled the Confederate forces on the left at Little Round Top, Brigadier General George Greene will similarly defend the right at Culp's Hill. As an engineer, Greene has constructed an extensive network of entrenchments designed to withstand a larger Confederate assault. The fighting will persist for several hours, extending into the night, yet the Union forces will maintain control of Culp's Hill after a protracted series of engagements. The second day of the battle is marked by Longstreet's offensive against the Union left flank and Ewell's assault on the right. Although neither attack succeeded in dislodging the Union from their advantageous positions, there are 2 promising developments for Robert E. Lee. One is that Wright's brigade, positioned north of the peach orchard, managed to reach Cemetery Ridge and even scaled it, while Hayes's brigade briefly advanced to Cemetery Hill. The third and final day of the battle will commence where the previous day concluded, focusing on the Union right flank at Culp's Hill. Union General Meade will preempt Robert E. Lee's actions. Before 4 a.m., Slocum's Corps will reinforce Culp's Hill, enabling the Union Army to expel Johnson's Confederate division from the area before noon. The primary focus of the third day's combat will shift southwest of Culp's Hill along Cemetery Ridge. In many respects, Robert E. Lee's strategy for this day mirrors his approach from the previous day. He intends to launch an assault along the Emmitsburg Road targeting Cemetery Hill. However, his plan does not account for an attack on Culp's Hill, as that position has already been secured by Slocum's Corps. On the second day of battle, Robert E. Lee intends for Longstreet to advance from the south along the Emmitsburg Road to assault Cemetery Hill. Longstreet, however, harbored doubts about the previous day's engagement and expressed strong objections regarding the planned attack for this day. He conveyed to General Lee, "Having served as a soldier throughout my life and participated in numerous battles at various levels, from small groups to entire armies, I believe I understand the capabilities of soldiers. In my view, no force of 15,000 men can successfully capture that position." Despite Longstreet's concerns, Lee remained resolute in his decision to confront the Union forces at this location. Longstreet's most capable division, Pickett's division, is set to launch an attack from the southwest towards Cemetery Hill. Additionally, Pettigrew's division will also play a role in the assault, as Pettigrew has taken over command from Heath, who was severely injured during the fighting on the first day. This change in leadership reflects the division's overall experience, having endured significant combat previously. Prior to the infantry assault, a substantial bombardment of Cemetery Ridge will be conducted by Confederate artillery, stretching from the Peach Orchard in the south to Seminary Ridge. At approximately 1 p.m., around 143 Confederate artillery pieces commence firing on Cemetery Ridge, prompting a counter-barrage from Union artillery. The intensity of the artillery exchange creates a thick cloud of smoke that envelops the valley between Cemetery Ridge and Seminary Ridge. Union General Meade has devised a strategy, recognizing the advantageous position of his forces, and he aims to provoke an attack from Robert E. Lee. In alignment with this plan, Union Artillery Commander Hunt deliberately ceases his artillery fire. The deception orchestrated by Union artilleryman Hunt seemed to be effective. Shortly after the Union cannon ceased fire, Pickett and Pettigrew emerged from their concealed positions behind ridges and within the woods, commencing their nearly 1 mile advance across the open terrain toward Cemetery Ridge. However, as soon as the infantry initiated their march, Union artillery stationed at Little Round Top and Cemetery Hill began to bombard them. Let us now focus on the open ground that became the site of Pickett's charge. Seminary Ridge is marked in red, while Cemetery Ridge is indicated in blue. The Emmitsburg Road runs centrally in white. To the northeast lies Ziegler's Grove, and at the center of the field stands a structure known as Codori House. The angle is depicted in black, with a cluster of trees adjacent to it. Meanwhile, the Union infantry is positioned on Cemetery Ridge, with Stannard's Vermont Brigade on the left flank and the 8th Ohio on the far right. Among the officers present are Hayes, Hancock, Gibbon, and Doubleday. Pickett's division will advance from the southwest, while Pettigrew's division will approach directly from the west. The brigade commanders in Pickett's division include Garnett, Kemper, and Armistead, whereas Pettigrew's division is led by Marshall, Fry, Lane, and Lawrence. Additional brigades will also arrive to provide support. The attackers are set to receive long-range artillery support, and as they approach Emmitsburg Road, they will face intense short-range artillery fire. To the north, the 8th Ohio will force Pettigrew's left flank to retreat. Meanwhile, Pickett's division will advance up Emmitsburg Road toward the angle, but they will encounter resistance on their right flank from Stannard's Vermont Brigade. Garnett and Armistead's brigades will charge over the stone wall at the angle, managing to reach the Union lines on Cemetery Ridge. However, they will soon find themselves engaged in a fierce hand-to-hand combat at the center of the Union line, ultimately leading to their mass surrender. In other areas, only a handful of Confederates will make it through, with some Union soldiers refraining from firing out of respect. Of the 11,000 Confederates who took part in Pickett's charge, nearly half did not return to Seminary Ridge. On the third day, the Union Army successfully expelled the rebels from Culp's Hill and defended Cemetery Ridge against a frontal assault. Both sides suffered over 20,000 casualties over the course of 3 days, marking it as the largest battle of the Civil War and a significant turning point in the conflict.